Hi team, welcome to the Kindness, Curiosity and Comfortable Shoes podcast. My name is James McFetrich and this is an ongoing toolkit for all healthcare staff. Whether you are a porter or a paediatrician, a domestic or a driver, clinical or non-clinical, just starting or just finishing your work in healthcare, this podcast aims to give you some useful thoughts about working for this amazing business to get you through your day. Before we start today's episode, I'll be so grateful if you could do one thing for me. If there is anything in these episodes that helps you in your day-to-day work as a healthcare worker, please tell your friends and colleagues so they can benefit from it too. I'd be so grateful if you could do that to really help grow this podcast. Thank you. I was once asked in an interview, what is your legacy going to be? And that really stuck with me because I'd never really thought of that before, what my legacy was. And at the time, I immediately thought of having a building named after me, the classic thing that you get at university. It's very much a North American, I guess, where people leave money in their will and as a result of that have a building named after them, or someone who's truly inspirational and the university or the institution wants that person to be memorialised, I guess. However, with a surname like McFetrich, I think that's really unlikely to happen. Lots of people have difficulty pronouncing it. I can't quite ever see in whatever walk of life that there would be a McFetrich building. And I guess for most of us, it just isn't going to happen, is it? The closest I got to it was when we were designing the new emergency department and where I worked as a consultant. And we were looking at the layout, and I remember being in this meeting and being very passionate about some doors being a certain area. It meant that we did lose a cubicle space, but I could just see that it would help the flow of patients through the department. And in my mind, these got known as my doors. But when I left, very kindly got a leaving present with a picture of the doors to be known only in my mind as the McFetrich doors. It's probably not going to happen that we, as individuals, get some major monument built to us, if it is a building or even a set of doors. But that question in the interview did get me thinking about what is my legacy. I know I've had a few people kind enough to say that they have remembered a few things that I have said, pointers to better practice or the way I help them with individual patients. But none of them stuck out in my mind. I was just doing my job, and maybe there are equal number of people thinking that I didn't manage things very well. And I guess it's the difficulty with a legacy. You never quite know what it's going to be. You never quite know who you are role modelling to and when that's going to happen. And I look back about my thoughts about the people that I've worked with, and there have definitely been some good and some bad role models. And their legacy, if you like, is the things that I've picked up, or definitely not picked up. It could still be a legacy in that form. There are people whose behaviour I've absolutely made sure I've not followed because I've not agreed with how they have managed certain things, how they have behaved in certain situations. And there are others who I may have picked up good or bad habits, I guess you could think of it. And thinking back over those people, I can think of a chief executive who struck absolute fear into anyone. The rumours that went round when they were in the department, everyone behaved differently. There was an absolute culture of fear in that one place, and that's clearly not a good thing. And there are other people who, perhaps looking back, certainly I can think of a few nursing staff I've worked with who look back and think the compassion that they showed, the way that they interacted with patients. I was just absolutely in awe of how they managed that, as well as running the department or managing the particular clinical skills that they had. And there's definitely something about that ability of learning from others, regardless of what that role is. And for all those individuals, they are leaving a legacy in some form that I can think of, specific people who have made me think in specific ways that have improved my practice. I found a really nice article about this, focusing more about role models. And actually, it's from research into fostering by an American lady called Marilyn Price-Mitchell. And she did some research into the qualities of positive role models. And I think these are so relevant in so many different areas, but absolutely in healthcare. And I love this. I love learning from different areas of life and how they can make us think in a slightly different way within healthcare. So these 5 qualities are, firstly, a passion and ability to inspire, really focusing on that dedication and that ability to give back to people. And clearly something that you'd naturally see as something that you'd expect in a role model. Secondly, having a clear set of values, and that role models will demonstrate their values by their everyday actions. And that certainly gets me thinking, do I know really what my values are in life? Do you know what your values are in life? And are you demonstrating to those people around you? Thirdly, the commitment to community, and that sense of being focused on others rather than being focused on yourself, and being active in your community at work. How much do you want things to improve and develop? How are you getting involved with things, perhaps beyond the scope of your day-to-day work, but because you are interested in wanting things to progress? Fourthly, that selflessness and acceptance of others. And a massive change in what I've seen in the health service and in the rest of the world over the past 25 years. Not seeing barriers to accepting others, even if they are different to you in whatever way you want to think about that you accept people for who they are and what they can contribute. And fifthly, the ability to overcome obstacles. And in this article, which I'll obviously put a link to in the notes, there's a fantastic quote from Booker T. Washington. He was an educator, an author, and an advisor to several presidents of the United States. And this quote is, "Success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which one has overcome." And I really like that way that this separates out those people who may be in positions of leadership or power, in inverted commas, who we may look up to and be inspired to, but it's not so much about that role they now have, but how did they get there? And people perhaps not necessarily in those more visible senior roles who have still achieved success by overcoming obstacles that are specific to them, and demonstrating that they have had initiative to be able to overcome those obstacles, and showing to anyone who is working with them that success is possible, and that success is however you define it. It's not all about reaching these pinnacle jobs. I really like that set of 5 qualities, and something that I think is applicable to all of us in healthcare, and certainly made me think when I was reading up about these, about what is my legacy. And it's different perhaps to how I would have initially thought of it. And perhaps it is more about being a role model, and the legacy that we leave is someone looking back and knowing, yes, when I worked with that person or when I saw that person, this is what helped me think differently about my role. It's worthwhile thinking what your legacy is. What things are you passing on to other people, whether you are doing that consciously and highlighting ways in which you are responding and interacting with others, or far more likely, it's actually an unconscious thing by your behaviors and the way that you interact with other people and go about your day-to-day work, that other people will look at that and take those good and useful behaviors and start to mold how they work in everyday life. And that will be your legacy, that somebody somewhere will be imitating what you are doing to the benefit of their work and for them to improve as a worker in healthcare. Thank you for listening today. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I am on @JMacEducation on all the socials, and there are links in the show notes for anything that we've talked about today that may be of interest or further reading for you. I'd be really grateful if you could rate, review and subscribe. And most importantly, if you found this helpful, please tell your colleagues about this podcast. So please take care of yourselves out there. You are doing a great job. And remember, be kind, be curious, and don't forget your comfortable shoes. Thank you to Shakina Studio for the music, downloaded through Audio Jungle. Thank you to Beth for the artwork and the photo, produced through Canva. And thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast. The Kindness, Curiosity and Comfortable Shoes podcast is a JMac Education production.